I think I learned to pay attention to the way I think actions often speak louder than words. I think to watch how people treat people and how I get treated. But I also, treat people the way I want to be treated. And I think you got to give everybody a chance. I think, don't judge. Sometimes you make a decision on a person before you really know them. You could think somebody, is not a real buyer because maybe they just don't dress or they don't drive a fancy car. That doesn't mean a thing. I've seen so many people that I'm so impressed with, that are so financially sound and well funded and, they just don't show, they're just not super showy about it. You just learn about people and you know what buyers do, you know what sellers do. It's funny because it is a lot of the same stuff over and over again. The objections are often the same, but they're all scared. Like a lot of times they're afraid to make a decision. And I think it's good when you're confident and you know your business, it's easy to say, I would. I just had a client, they missed out on a few houses and they're the nicest. I love them. But sometimes they weren't really thinking properly. They would say, well, they should take us and we should do this. And, they had a house to sell that was attached. But you know what? When the house came that they really wanted, they did everything I told them to and they got it. But because they missed out a few times and things would happen and they wouldn't listen to me. So what I say, sometimes you got to let them get spanked. That's exactly what I say. Because if they don't want to listen to me, sometimes you got to let them learn the hard way. And I'll be patient and wait for that because I understand that. Hey, I've learned the hard way. How many times I've learned things the hard way? That's just sometimes what we do, right? Sometimes, they won't listen and they'll miss out. When I knew this one house they wanted this thing more than ever. And I said, well, this is what you need to do. And it was so funny because they spent about $50,000 more than they wanted to. They could afford it. I would never put anybody in a bad predicament. But you know what? They're happy. If they wanted it, I said, this is what you have to do. The agent gave me some inside scoop. My guys had a huge down payment, like $50,000 above their budget where we'd have to go. But it was everything they wanted. It was the first house that had the pool, it had the hot tub, it had everything that they wanted. And I knew that if they didn't get this one, this was going to be a hard one to replace. I said, this is what I would do. And that's what I would do. They waived inspections. I waived inspections on my house. I didn't want to, but I wanted the house. So I did what I had to do. And it's funny, sometimes, like I said, you got to know when you can. And you got to be honest about it. I would never push them to do something that would hurt somebody or put them in a bad predicament. But sometimes they need that push. And people say to me, what would you do? And I said, this is what I would do. I just had somebody with a problem with a thing out of state in Arizona. She said, well, what would you do? I said, well, I would hire an attorney. Well, she said, they don't want to pay for an attorney. Well, I'm just telling you what I would do. I would hire an attorney because I'm in New Jersey. And if I got to do something in Arizona, I know they don't use attorneys for real estate, but I would have an attorney because I'm in Jersey. And if you don't like my idea, that's okay. But if you ask me this, I will tell you what I would do.